A thermometer is a device used to measure temperature. Before the thermometer, there was the thermoscope, which was limited because it only showed an increase or decrease in temperature, but not by how much. The first thermoscope was invented by Galileo in 1593, and it used water to measure temperature variations. Galileo's thermometer was essentially a container filled with bulbs of varying mass that each had a temperature marking. Buoyancy of water changes with temperature, so some of the bulbs would sink while others float, indicating what temperature it is. In 1612, Santorio invented the first thermometer with a numerical scale that could be placed in a patient's mouth. However, this temperature measure was not always accurate and took a long time to get a reading. In 1709, Daniel Fahrenheit, inventor of the Fahrenheit scale, invented the alcohol thermometer and then the mercury thermometer in 1714. Thermometers have come a long way, with many of them now digitized to have a temperature reading in a matter of seconds. Thermometers contain three basic elements: a liquid that responds to changing in temperature, usually alcohol or mercury, a glass tube that holds the liquid, and black ink to engrave the scale marks. Simple glass thermometers are unlikely to change. However, modern technology has allowed for production of smaller, more accurate digital thermometers and thermometers with infrared sensors. Today, there are sensors that you can plug into your smartphone to get a temperature reading for the air around you that pairs with an app.
Along with being a major component of thermometers, mercury is also found in fluorescent light bulbs, batteries, car switches, barometers, and dental amalgam. Aristotle is given credit for the oldest known record of mercury, dating back to the 4th century BCE, in which he referred to it as fluid silver. In ancient times, mercury was mined and used as paint, a ceremonial material, and as a component of medical therapy. Mercury isn't typically found free in nature. It's usually bound to other materials in the form of ores. Mercury is primarily extracted from the mineral red mercury sulfide, also known as cinnabar. Spain and Italy produce about half the world's mercury supply. Mercury is typically produced by crushing then heating cinnabar rock, also known as mercury ore, to the boiling point of 356 degrees Celsius. Once it vaporizes, it's condensed to form liquid mercury. Almost 95% of mercury content of cinnabar can be extracted using this process.
Mercury has many different applications in society. Ancient Romans used their mercury mines as institutions for criminals. It was likely that the criminals would get sick and die before they would have to carry out a formal execution. In China, the study of mercury centered on a search for the elixir of life to grant longevity or immortality. Ko Hung of 4th century China believed that smearing cinnabar on someone's feet enabled them to walk on water. He also believed that placing it over doorways would ward off thieves, and mixing it with cranberry juice would allow elderly men to become sexually reproductive again. Mercury therapy for syphilis became prevalent from the 15th century to the 20th century. In some cases, syphilis did spontaneously improve, but the negative symptoms outweighed the positive ones. In Danbury, Connecticut in the 1850s, mercury was used for making felt hats. Workers experienced a great deal of symptoms, including loss of teeth, peeling of the skin, mental confusion, irritability, and hand tremors, which famously coined this epidemic the Danbury Shakes. Today, mercury is most commonly known for its use in thermometers and barometers. Mercury has a huge economic impact. Pollution from mercury is a global problem. This pollution primarily comes from the burning of fossil fuels, but also from metal production, cement production, gold mining, and waste incineration. After being emitted into the atmosphere, it can eventually settle in oceans and waterways. In a study done on selected developing countries, mercury pollution is costing millions of dollars. In Mexico, mercury pollution costs the community up to $15.7 million a year. Globally, billions of dollars can be saved by the reduction of mercury. An interesting characteristic of mercury is that it's the only metal to be in a liquid state at standard temperature and pressure. Mercury also has a high surface tension, so when spilled, it breaks up into tiny beads.